Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Where's My Sage, A Taste of the Universe. I'm Mike from Tactical Bigfoot Research, and my wonderful partner, Christy London, is joining us this evening, and she is unmuted. So, hello, Christy. How are you today?
A little reverse psychology going on there.
Yep.
I'm great, Mike from Tactical Bigfoot Research. How are you?
Just ducky. So,
I like the...
Yeah, one more week of...
Oh my gosh, all of our listeners will appreciate this. So, I'm looking for Mike. I'm on here and I'm waiting to, do our meeting before, like we always do. And I'm like, where are you? No answer. Wait like 5 minutes. I'm like, it's getting too close to comfort here. Hello, where are you? He says, I'll be right there doing my hair. I said, what?
Mm-hmm.
But hey, it looks pretty good. I said, I'll probably never hear that from you again.
this recovery from surgery is driving me nuts.
You seem to be managing.
The other day, another month. So who knows? By then, I could have a full perm in the top of the thing, and we'll see. We'll see what the barber does tomorrow. Luckily,
well, it's a good look, though. Well, at least for those of us who aren't used to it. I mean,
just I don't know. This has got to go. I got to get rid of it. So
actually, I don't mind this. This is kind of nice.
Yeah,
I like this on older men, though.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Sorry.
So I'm here.
He's got a few years on, ladies and gentlemen.
But
I'll drink my water now.
No field stuff for us for a little bit. Mm-hmm. So Doc still says no. So those folks that were looking for us to do some Bigfoot lives and some good ghost investigations, we're going to be held up a little bit longer on this wonderful melee. I'll be going nuts. So if anybody has any good suggestions for other podcasts besides ours, please let me know so I have somebody else and to listen to myself, talk to myself.
Right.
So,
and we have out here. What?
And I just wanted to say, please like and share and subscribe. Yeah. I put the link in up above for you folks tuning in for YouTube. Right. If you're there on Facebook, share away on Facebook. If you're on YouTube, or even if you're on Facebook and want to switch over to YouTube tonight, like and share. Well, we got a great guest tonight, and I'm going to turn things over to Christy, so I'm not mumbling all night long.
2 hours is not going to be even close to enough time to cover all the different things our guest tonight is involved in, and he's been around for a long time.
Yeah.
He's going to kill me. What are you talking about? All these older men. I'm kidding. Sorry, guys. I'm in rare form tonight. It's been a long day. So, anywho,
I'll click on the hellos while you're talking. I'll click. So, hello, Watch Talker. Hello, Mary Beth.
No, we have a really cool guest because he has done so many different things. And he's been around in the field for so long. He is a psychic medium. He is a Reiki master. He's a healer. He has written 3 books and he has 2 in the works. He is the creator and the host of Orion Rising, the live show on Facebook. And it's also a podcast. And he's on like a good gazillion different platforms anymore. It's really cool. And I had the honor and privilege of being on his show a few times in the past. So that was always a good time. So what else? He's also, he is also the creator and the only one who has a Facebook
authorization.
Authorization. That's the word. I'm telling you, it's been a long day. Of Facebook page for Ancient Aliens, guys, the history channel, the show Ancient Aliens, he also runs that as well. And all the guys who are on that show are all members of that as well. So that's pretty cool. It's not something we've touched a lot on this show, on our show as of now. So that'll be very interesting. So a lot of questions, a lot of good information. So get your questions ready for him, and let's welcome Mr. Leonard O'Neill.
Okay, there he is.
There he is.
I thought you were going to click him off as I clicked him on. So,
right. Yeah. No, don't let the beard fool you. I'm not that old. I just have white hair from my genetics. And Mike, one of the guys is in the audience. So Watchers Talk. There's a podcast. I have a bunch of podcast buddies that you might be interested in listening to. So I'll give you their names, like Closer Encounters. Clarence Mitchell. He's not here. Rob's show. And I always forget the name of his show because it's brand new. So hopefully he'll pop in, or Omar can tell you. But Omar's Watchers Talk is another one. Okay. There's quite a few out there that are some really good podcasts to listen to that you might want to take a look at. Not to mention my show, by the way.
Yeah. I've had your show on. Yes. Yep.
It depends on what I'm talking about on my show, because sometimes I tick people off because I talk about politics on there as well.
Well, I mean, but you talk about a lot more than just politics, right?
No, I do on there. That's the reason I did that originally. I had actually started it as Ancient Aliens because, I'm the largest Ancient Aliens worldwide group, and I did get permission from Georgios Tsoukalos and the History Channel back before I was the first one that had that name. And originally it was just Ancient Aliens, and then everybody popped up with 7 or 8 different groups called Ancient Aliens. So I said we have to differentiate ourselves. So we changed the name to Ancient Aliens Worldwide. And we are the largest Ancient Aliens UFO hunting organization on the planet. As far as on Facebook, we have, I think it's 275,000 members right now. Wow. Yeah. So it's pretty intense. So we have a lot of people on there. And the other group, the closest one to us, is like 100,000 less people in the group. And everybody participates, not 100%, but we have a really good turnout. We have conversations that go on for days on that group. I don't even run it anymore. Basically, I created it, and now it's a living, breathing machine. And I have an admin staff who volunteered to help me, and I turned the reins over basically to them so I could do the stuff that I do, because that would take too much of my time. So I just have conference calls once a week.
That's so neat. Oh, that's really cool.
Right?
Wow.
Yeah,
those are some big numbers, mister.
Yeah, it was all my other groups are small. They're not as big. A Full Spectrum Universe. Thank you. Thank you, Omar. He just put it up in the chat over there. So Rob's show is Full Spectrum Universe. It's brand new. He's only like a month in. And I don't know why I have a block on that, and Rob's going to hate me for it. He just was on my show the other day. Yesterday. I went live yesterday, and he popped in. Hey, what's up?
Nice.
So yeah.
Got to broaden my horizons,
Right? Yeah. Take a look at those. You might like them. You're going to get conspiracy theories on there, like alien stuff on there, but we did a whole show on Bigfoot. I think I've done 3 shows on Bigfoot. I hear some crazy stuff about Bigfoot. I hear there's more than one species. I hear there's 3.
Yep.
Oh, right? See?
Depends on,
you and Mike should do a
where
show.
You are in the country,
You should have him on.
Things go,
Yeah, I was told that one of them was brought here on purpose in case we were dumb enough to blow ourselves into smithereens with nuclear weapons, that it could actually withstand the radiation. So if they needed to, if the overseers needed to, they could shove human souls into that species so that we could still survive. That's what I was told.
Okay.
Look at Mike's face on that one. And you think I'm crazy for thinking it might be interdimensional and a little wow. There you go. That just helped.
He heard it. He didn't say he came up with it. That's
no, that's not my theory. I heard that. I was told that. I've been told a lot of stuff too. I've been told things that I have gone. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I'm sure you've had the same
minds.
Yeah.
And sample this universe. And whatever comes out of this universe comes out of this universe.
Right.
That's right.
So,
when you consider the reality, they're starting to realize that the scientists are starting to realize that a lot of our reality is, in fact, very similar to our AI, very similar to our programming in computer programming. So they're starting to wonder just how much of it is like the Matrix, to where there's things that are not real, that are manufactured, that didn't exist here, like, for instance, the moon. Scientists are starting to realize the moon didn't evolve from the Earth, and it didn't start from the solar system. It was brought in from another place. Think about that.
Wow.
Right?
All right.
Think about that. So, the theory is...
Never cease to amaze me.
The theory is that what we call the Kuiper Belt was a planet called Moldek. And that they blew themselves up with nuclear weapons some 100,000 years ago, a couple 100,000 years ago. Wow. And because of that, it changed. They created the ecosystem that we have here by being in the orbit that they were in. So when that disappeared and it was just the Kuiper Belt, we needed something to keep our ecosystem the way it was. So the theory is the moon was created somewhere else and dragged here and put in place exactly where it was to do the job that it's doing. And if you look in any place else in the universe, there is no orbiting moon, orbiting anything that is in the position that the Earth and the moon are. There's no other moon that's anywhere near that close.
Wow. I just keep picturing this big wench in the front of a spaceship in this moon.
Oh, big winch, not big wench.
Oh yeah, winch. Sorry,
not a big wench.
Okay,
that was the pirate conversation.
Look, you're making my leg go down, please.
Right, and Omar in the audience is saying that the moon is a spaceship, right? Which is rusted. Yeah, look at that, right, guys? So there's another theory that it's actually a spaceship, and there's some big giant military base or something, and someone flew it here. I was told that too. I was told that I don't remember what species it was, but an alien species basically drove it here and parked it in orbit. You know, and if you couple that with the fact that when they went to land on the moon the first time, they overshot the place they were supposed to land and they hit really hard, and the moon rang out like a bell being hit for like an hour. So they tried it again. The next time they came up and they hit it even harder, and it rang out for almost a whole day, which would suggest it's metal and it's hollow in the center. Just saying. Theories. Just saying. Coupled with the fact that if you study the moon, there isn't a single crater that goes below a certain depth. All craters on there stop at a certain depth on the entire face of the moon. So that would suggest that there's something very, very hard at that depth that has not been penetrated by any body of anything slamming into the moon.
Wow.
Okay. Quick housekeeping now that we're a few minutes in here. Folks that are coming in to visit with us tonight, we have Leonard O'Neill, podcaster, author, and all-around interesting gentleman. And we're coming to you from WLFE DB Radio on somewhere down the line, probably tomorrow or the day after. It'll be the pre-record on Spreaker and iTunes. We're coming to you from Tactical Bigfoot Research through YouTube. We are on Where's My Sage on YouTube, Where's My Sage page and group, and Christie's business page. So thank you for joining us tonight. Please like and share. I put the links up above for YouTube, so please get on there, subscribe, hit that bell. We got some really cool shows coming up very, very soon. We'll be doing some reading shows for those that are tuning in for that. So sorry, I had to get that little housekeeping out of the way quick.
No, that's all right. Everybody share. Everybody share this out.
Yeah, please share tonight.
Share, so. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and Watch Us Talk was plugging that we did a panel show a couple years ago when I was on that panel. So I did plug that myself too. He just said that he did a huge panel talk on that a couple years ago on the moon, and I was on that panel talk that we did. He just put that in the chat.
Okay,
very neat.
Yeah,
you are a huge research guy. Besides being very gifted and intuitive and really being open to receiving the information that's being given to you by your guides in the universe and your higher power, you really seem to it's like you can't get enough knowledge. You just can't. You soak it up. You're like a sponge, you know, and you're so open to all the different levels and layers, I guess you could say.
Somebody says something to me, if it doesn't sound insane. And sometimes even then, all research is to see if there's any merit to it. And because I've done that in everything, if you think about it, being a UFO hunter since I was like 8, you have to do that. And then I literally professionally, I worked for a couple of frame companies. So you have to authenticate all of the stuff that comes in to be framed because there's a value on it. And if they say this is worth $1 million, somebody has to authenticate that to make sure that it is worth $1 million, because what if it's not and they claim it is and you damage it? Now they're going to sue you for that.
Right.
Okay. So you have to verify that what they claim is what it is. Right. And so I did that. And then, I did that because I was already doing that with the UFO stuff. So I've always had to research everything. And because of being who I am, when I went to intro to philosophy, I was there about 7 days, maybe. And the teacher pulled me aside and said, okay, listen, we need to sit down and talk. You either don't get this or you should be teaching the class. And I said, okay, so what do you want to know? And so we talked for about half an hour. And he said, okay, I'm honored that you're in my class. I don't understand why you are. I said, because it's an intro class. I can't take any other class till I take this one first. He says, okay, if you would like to sit in to help me teach this class, I will allow you to do that, but you don't have to come back again. He says, I'm giving you a passing grade now. He says, because you don't need to bother with this class. You should be teaching it. You know more than I do about this subject. Okay. Wow. So I got a pass. Right. So that's the kind of stuff that I've run into. I'm always, when I was younger, my mom used to call me Professor Precise because I was Sheldon. It came easy to me when I was in college, when I was taking my intro to philosophy, had to take physics 101. I was doing everything longhand, and my teacher got mad because I wasn't using a calculator. She wanted to know that I understood how to use that. I'm like, I don't understand how that actually does anything for you in real life because they're wrong. Then when I'm used to getting 100% on stuff, so I got one problem wrong, and I said, wait, no, that's not right. I got that right. She said, no, you did not. I said, yes, I did. She said, I have the book with the answers. I said, the book with the answers are wrong. I did that, and it's right. Do the math. Don't just look at the answer from the book. Do the math and tell me where I'm wrong. The whole class now is listening because she's mad at me and raising her voice, so everyone is watching. And she says, okay, fine. And she does it. And she looks at the thing and she goes, hits the button again. We'll start over. So why don't you try doing it longhand so we can see your work? Now she's mad at me. She got done and she said, her eyes get big and she looked at me. She says, you're right. This book is wrong. I said, I wonder how long that book's been out and how many people around the world have been getting that problem wrong.
Yeah. Watch talkers, the more insane the theory, the tastier it is. My theory is the more insane the story, the more true it is, more times than not. I
think that's what he's kind of saying. The same thing. Yeah. The more tasty it is. Because it sounds crazy. And because it sounds so crazy, that's when you go, that can't be real. And then you find out it is. And you're like, I guess it is too crazy to be crazy.
Yep. Yeah. I tell people that even when I'm doing group readings and things like that, or, galleries, don't be afraid to validate. Don't be afraid of the connections that are being made automatically inside you, because that's spirit, that's universe, that's your higher power helping you to make those connections. And I always tell them, the crazier you think you're going to sound, the more awkward you think it's going to be, the more accurate it is. So make sure you validate it, and welcome to my world.
You have to run with that and learn, like you guys had Audrey. Yeah, you guys had Audrey on here last week.
Yeah.
And, she's still learning how to understand. I thought that was so cute to watch a young mind going, well, it's in my head, but I don't know how to say it. I'm like, you'll get there. You'll get there. You just have to.
We totally put her on the spot too. We were like messaging Wendy, her mom, going, "Can we ask her some questions? Can we help?" And it was so natural for her anyway. We were like, "Let us try to do this." She's like, "Sure." She was not even prepared for it, which was even better.
She just needs somebody to work with her to explain to her, for each of us. And I did a whole show on this. For each of us, we get different things that tell us what things mean. That's why if you watch like the Long Island Medium, she'll explain that when she gets it. She says, I get a rolling pin in my head. And for me, that says a grandmother figure. So she translates that symbol into that. So you have to do that. When I was in Arizona writing with my, right? You're the same way. We all are. We have our own things that we interpret that people show us because of our experiences. I'm driving down the road. I wasn't driving. I was the passenger. My wife was driving. We were in Arizona, and I said, why am I getting a hankering, like really intensely, for mashed potatoes and gravy? What does that mean anything to you? And she says, oh my God. And I said, what? She said, mashed potatoes and gravy. She said, that was my grandfather's favorite thing to eat. And today is the day he died.
There you go. See?
He was saying to me, remind my little girl that I'm here. And he was giving me that, and knowing I would say to her, why am I getting mashed potatoes and gravy in my head? Somebody's talking to me from the other side. And she's like, oh my God, tell him I said hi. I'm like, he hears you. He's here with us.
He can hear you.
That's awesome. Right? So, things like that are the validation points, and you just need to interpret them, or learn how to interpret them. I was doing a read for a woman, and her husband had passed, and I didn't know that. And I started to realize that, and I said, I see him I said, I see him in his coffin, and he has a rose that is on his chest, but it's not a rose; it's a different color. And I said, and he's taking the rose and he's hitting me in the nose with it and laughing. And she just freaked out, started laughing, and said, "Oh my God, that is so him." And I said, "What do you mean?" She said, during his funeral, we had an open casket, and I put a yellow rose on his chest. And I said, I told her it wasn't the normal color. It was yellow, I believe. And she said, okay. And I said, but what's the thing with the nose? And she said, he was that guy that would always go, "What's this? Flick. What's this? Flick." And flick me in the nose. I said, so he was doing that to me with the rose for me to validation for you. Because how could I know that? How could I make that up?
Exactly. There's a very interesting question down here, Leonard, that I want to bring up.
We got a couple of them there, but I saw that one there too. So,
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to skip anybody, but we'll backtrack.
Yeah.
All over that. So, so Steve wants to know, what do you think of not having a pineal gland? His was removed.
Well, that just changes a few things about how your brain works when you have your pineal gland removed. It is like a lot of the controlling center. Like for me, I actually have an issue. The pineal gland actually transmits information to my testicles. All men have that. And the testicles then make testosterone. Okay. And because the pineal gland tells the testicles to make testosterone. Well, me being in martial arts most of my life, I have catastrophic damage to my testicles, so they don't receive the message. So now I have to take testosterone shots. Otherwise, Grandpa needs a nap.
And I gotta say, I'm not laughing at you for that at all. It was just the 15-year-old. I did not expect you to be serious about that at all.
Right? No, but that's true. So a lot of people, their pineal gland it turns off, and they sometimes go in with a something I don't know what they call it, but like a pencil eraser, not that, and they go in and they actually hit it to stimulate it to get it to work. So it doesn't mean, a lot of people will be afraid and say that means my third eye doesn't work. Your third eye isn't your pineal gland. It's a bigger portion of your brain. It's just that little portion would be like your tonsils are to your vocal cords. The pineal gland is basically the tonsils of your third eye. It doesn't mean your third eye doesn't work. Okay. Right. So your brain rewires for any kind of damage that's done to it. Your brain compensates. So whatever the pineal gland did for you, your brain will rewire itself to have another portion of the brain pick up the slack. So don't worry about it.
Awesome. All right, Michael, I'll let you.
All right.
Before I get in trouble with all our viewers.
No, I'm not. I'm gonna, folks. If you've got questions tonight, just throw them out. I will tap them up. This is from Lorna. She's bringing up Antarctica, and it's a topic you and I talked about the other night. And Lorna, if you,
I'm like, what do you want to know about Antarctica? I know a lot.
Yeah, if you would like to kind of elaborate on that one, I want to just pop that there, but I'll get Leonard thinking about where you might want your question to go. So,
right. Well, see, that's what I'm saying. I mean, if you want to know something about Antarctica, ask me what you want, because I can just spew a bunch of stuff that I know and a bunch of things I've heard. So if you want to go a certain direction, guys, ask me what you want to know about Antarctica.
So, what got you started in this whole?
I think I've always been interested in knowledge, right? I mean, literally, the philosophical thought, philosophy means the love of knowledge, or the knowledge of love. I think I've always been interested in that my whole life. I just want to know everything. And I know that the more you know, just like Socrates said, the more you know, the more you realize that you know nothing. So it doesn't matter how much you cram into your brain, you really end up just not knowing anything. A bunch of stuff that's really Trivial Pursuit, right? People hate playing that game with me, by the way, or Jeopardy. So I have a really good memory. I have total recall. So when I read something or I see a movie or whatever, I know it. I can't tell you. I wish I could be eidetic. I wish you could give me a date, 1872, 4 p.m. Oh, that was the date Napoleon lost his head. But I don't know that, but some people do. I wish I did. But I've had a great memory, and I've always wanted to know things. So I've always learned. So that's been my whole life, really. The UFO thing started when I was 8, maybe a little bit less, when we lived next door to a military base. In fact, the city was there because the military base was there. It was started as military housing, and it turned into a city. So I was literally a mile from the military base most of my life. And that military base was the largest naval weapons platform on the East Coast or West Coast of America until they built the ones down in San Diego and LA. So it was there forever, and it's still there. They just recently closed it. And there was a UFO that was hovering over that military base. Well, that military base didn't have any aircraft. It's tucked into the hills. In fact, you don't know it's there unless you know it's there. Okay, because the entire military base is camouflaged from the air. And it's tucked in a little valley with a mountain range on one side and a giant mountain, which used to be a volcano, the dried volcano, behind it. So you have to be looking for it. And it's 30 miles up inside the San Francisco Bay area, up the Sacramento River. So there was an alien spaceship that was flying over there, something, saucer-looking, space-looking craft hovering over the military base. The entire city saw it. And everybody's outside watching it. And then it floated off to the east and went over the mountain range. And then later on in life, I found a buddy of mine who lived over there in Antioch. I lived in Concord, and Pittsburgh and Antioch are up the coast of the river. He lived in Antioch, and they were in Pittsburgh in the morning for breakfast, and they were driving on Highway 4 back to their house, and it went right next to them on the freeway. And they looked out the car, and here's this spaceship going, passing him like the guy was waving at him or something. And then just kept on going. Well, over time you find out that like half of the people who lived there remember that event and saw it. So they couldn't say we just saw a weather balloon. So because of seeing that, I was at that point interested in UFOs and started hunting UFOs from that point until now. And I have actually seen 3 in my lifetime. Physically. Can't get a picture of them because every time it's happened, I've never had a camera in my hand. Now I know why people carry a camera around all the time, right? And they have it around their neck.
They still use
it, or it's all shaky, right? The phones are, and people go, "Why is it always shaky?" And I'm like, because they're holding up a camera and zooming in, so any little teeny movement is like this on the screen now. So it does suck, but they have programs that you can fix that jitter. YouTube has that attached to their programming. So if you take a video that's all squirrely, download it to YouTube. YouTube will readjust it and keep it centered, and it won't shake anymore. So you can actually work on that and see if it's real. So.
That's pretty cool.
I actually saw one in 2016. It was the last time I've actually witnessed a UFO. And that was down in San Diego. I was on my way from Arizona to San Diego. I was moving onto my yacht and separating from my wife. And so I'm driving there, and I was up on what we call the Grapevine, which is a 4,000 foot high rock area that separates lower all of LA Basin from the rest of California. You have to go over it to get to it unless you come in through the sea. So I'm driving down between the Arizona and border of Arizona and Mexico, and in Arizona, and I'm heading into San Diego, and you have to go up 4,500 feet, and it's windy, and you're up in the rocks, and then you come back straight down, bam, you're right into San Diego. Well, while I was at the top, I'm driving along. Well, here I'm on this freeway that's 2 or 3 lanes, and we're doing 75 miles an hour and going around this way and that. And I look over to the left, and there's a cigar-shaped UFO in the air, black, just sitting there, not even moving. So you can't like look and go, "Where's my phone?" because you're doing 75 miles an hour with other cars in a windy road. So I'm looking. Third time I look, as I look at it, it just goes, whoop, gone. So I believe it cloaked. It didn't take off, because even if it takes off, I have really good vision, although I'm wearing my reading glasses right now because I'm getting older. But when I was younger, I had 2015, right, vision. So you can't just have something take off at 5 million miles an hour without me seeing a streak, right? When I was a kid, you threw a pitcher threw a fastball, I could see the threads still. Wow. As it was coming at me, right? So I was a really good hitter of baseball. I just couldn't run fast. So, right. But that was the last time I've actually physically experienced on my own a real UFO, not on something I saw on a camera. And so people say, "Are they real?" Well, yeah, but there's not aliens flying them. That's the one thing people need to understand. It's not aliens flying them. Most of the ones that you see in the sky are in fact from this planet, owned by the governments of this planet.
So
we have a lot of people contributing here in the chat room, don't we?
I know a lot of these people.
So I guess we're gonna kind of pop into Lorna's follow-up. Do you think that's where ETs are? Have heard many say they are. Just interesting to see how many people there are on the same page. Keep it up.
Are you
that's
referring to Antarctica? Is that correct?
That's back up to the Antarctica. Yep.
Yes, there's aliens that have military bases not just on Antarctica, but in many different places on this planet, and they usually are very near to or next to American military installations. And in Antarctica's case, that would be a German installation from the military base that they had there when they were Nazis and during Nazi Germany until 1945 or 46, after the war was over, and then that was taken from them by the Americans and the English. But so yes, there were and probably still are aliens having a military base there in Antarctica. And if you listen to that guy who I can't remember his name, who was working for the CIA and the government, who was building military bases, he was boring out everything. He was the company that was boring out stuff, and he was working in Groom Lake, which is in Nevada. And he was working there, drilling out an area to go into a military base. And apparently our government didn't know that there was already an alien military base there. And they accidentally drilled into the alien military base, in which at that point, a firefight ensued and most of the people were killed. And a CIA agent died to get him out of there. And him and two other American soldiers made it out alive. And he had his fingers of his right hand cut off, except for his pointer finger, with a laser weapon. He was holding his hand up like this, and the guy shot him, and he had this scar across his chest and his fingers missing. And when he went public with that, 2 days after he went public with that and spoke in Canada, he apparently used a rubber hose with his own hand from behind and sat in a chair and strangled himself, which is actually physically impossible to do. How can you strangle yourself from behind? Because you get to a point and you go unconscious and your body goes limp and you won't die. Right. So apparently he still had the wherewithal to hold on after he was unconscious until he died. So that's a lie. So they killed him because he talked about it. For guys like us, that kind of validates his story. If you cover it up so stupidly, we go, all right, well, then what he said must have been true, because why would he, if he was going to kill himself, he could have just took a gun with the hand that worked and went pow. But that didn't happen. He was strangled from behind while he sat in his rocking chair.
Wow.
So yeah, so I know that there are many different places. In my book Orion Rising, which when I wrote it I did like Dan Brown did. I did all the research that I could, History Channel's research and things. And I said, well, let me write a what if book. What if that were true? What if there really are aliens here? And what if there is a struggle for the human race, right? So I wrote that book, and I'm come to find out right after that it's actually what's happening for real. So the theories that I use in there of the different military bases, I'm told those are really military bases. Like when I wrote it, there's a military base in the mountain by Queen Creek, Arizona, in the Sedona Desert. And that's what the theory was. Well, I'm told that there really is a military base underground in that area. In that mountain and other mountains over there. I mean, Arizona is really weird. It's this little teeny state of about 12 million people, but they have the largest amount of military bases, larger than any other state combined. And they have the largest amount of aircraft, military combat aircraft in one area than even air bases do in other places. So it's the most fortified desert just below Nevada, and Nevada is the second most fortified desert on the face of the earth. No one knows why.
That's crazy.
Yeah, why would that be?
It's very hard for me to wrap my head around a lot of this. Not because I believe or don't believe, because I just trying to process it all, and then just even connecting with it and weeding through it. What do I feel? What do my guides say? Because it's all different for all of us anyways. Some of us are not meant to know this stuff, but it doesn't mean that someone else is lying about it either. So really,
it's a matter of choice, really. Yeah, it's a matter of choice. If you want to go down that road and you want to see those things, then you can. If you don't want to, look, I don't want to know anything about that, you don't have to. Right now, here's a really good question Virginia has. I don't know if you guys are watching. There's a question that Virginia has. Virginia Wisdom.
You're such a show host.
I'm always looking at the chat, guys. I'm always looking at the chat, right? But look at this question that she has. As a medium and connected, put that up on the screen for.
Yep. Gotcha.
As a medium and connected with spirit, right here I go taking over your show. I apologize. with spirit energies, do you feel that we're also connected to alien energies? That is the greatest question I've had somebody post in a very long time, Virginia. And yes, because they're no different than we are. They're just
he was just waiting for it.
Yeah, when people are thinking alien, think about this. That would be like saying, well, if I'm connected to Americans, could I be connected to Germans too? What's the difference between Earth and, say, Mars, or Earth and another planet in a different galaxy? There's people there. Whether they're human or they're not, they're three-dimensional. They're 3D people, so that means they're going to be some sort of bipedal probably, and they're probably going to have a brain. They're going to be existing in the same existence as we are, so all of the rules are going to be consistent for them like they are for us, which means why would they be any different than us in some way other than technologically? So why would we not? That would be like saying the creator of the universe created the earth, but he didn't create anything else. Well, wait, the creator created everything, so why would they create so much and only put humans on it? I mean, come on. So yes, that's a great question. Would we be in tune with aliens? Absolutely, we would have to be. They are the same as us. They just live in a different place further away, right? So they would be like saying the Chinese or the Japanese. But there was a time when no one ever knew they even existed, and then they found them, right? Was that so alien that they said they were completely a different species? Well, no, yes and no. In some places they were arrogant and said, well, they must be our slaves because they don't look like us, right? But those are conquer-minded people. But otherwise, we're still the same people. So if all the people of this planet with the diversities of our races are all one, why would that change if you came from a different star system?
Interesting. So
That's
Steve Barnes actually asks if you saw the video of the Jersey UFO on September 14th. I know I'm not really familiar with what he's talking about. Did you hear about that?
No, I've actually, because of doing what I've been doing, I actually haven't been doing any kind of UFO research. So no, I didn't see the video. If you have a copy of it, put it in the chat and I'll look at it after the show.
Yeah, or explain, or let us know what you're talking about. Tell us about it and elaborate on it.
Is it one of those? Is it another one of those Tic Tacs, or maybe you can quickly type in the. Well, they have the videos. They have the videos that they call it a Tic Tac because it looks like it on camera. It's white and it's the same shape as a Tic Tac. The difference is that it's like 150 feet long and like 50, 60 feet around. But they call it the Tic Tac, and that's the one they've released from the military that was back in the 80s, and then in the 90s that they've been tracking off the coast of California.
I think that was Nimitz, right?
Yeah, that's the Nimitz encounter. Yes.
Okay. And then to go along with the 14th, which was yesterday, is do you believe in all the UFO sightings that happened last night?
No, well, see, here's the thing.
Anywhere.
Guys, let me explain this. Okay, this is one that you guys, some of you guys get real weirded out by it, but here's the thing. Our solar system is in quarantine. Okay, our solar system is in quarantine by
COVID.
By a council. The Council of Nine, the Council of Seven, the Council of Nine, depends on which people you count. And that because of people coming here and screwing things up for us, we are now in quarantine. So when you see a UFO in these days, it is not an alien flying it from someplace else. The chances of that are like 1 in a million. It could happen. But the truth is, that UFO belongs to this planet. So when the government says there's no such thing, there's an unidentified flying object, they're telling you the truth because they know who's in it. Okay? They know who's in it.
Interesting.
Yeah, and that's part people don't know, right? Anyway, so what is Virginia saying here? We had some in Concord lately too, see?
Yeah.
So, and I believe that this is part of they're trying to roll things out now because of the pressure that the coalitions have put on them and where we are right now in society. And that's why things are playing out so abruptly and dangerously in politics right now. They're trying to roll things out because what you guys don't know here in America, and any of you guys who are on here now that are from around the world, you can probably say, most of the countries have rolled out the idea that aliens exist and that they are here on this planet already. And the American government is one of the last governments that are not telling the people the truth. Some of us know that though, and we're trying to tell you guys that they're not allowing you to know the truth. Okay, and there's government officials that are ex-government officials from Canada, England, and even our country who come out and say that we know this stuff for real, but they won't let you know it. Okay, so so they know what's going on. They Sia, the woman singer who I adore, by the way, great singer. She was on James Gordon's show, and he does that driving around England while they do the karaoke and sing. He had her in there, and he said, I heard a weird fact about you. You believe in UFOs. And she said, yes, I do. And he went, what? Right? And she said, I was watching one of the shows, and I don't know if it was Ancient Aliens, but I know he was on there. And he's been on a few of the other shows. And I saw, it was a video on YouTube, because I saw the same one she saw. And a government official from Canada got up in front of their parliament and said, okay, listen, we're Canada, not the United States. We need to stop lying to the people about UFOs, and we need to start letting people know that UFOs are real. Do you know that nobody in the Canadian Parliament went, oh, what are you talking about? To the person. They all sat there and either went, yeah, he's right. Or they were going, no, listen, sit down. Nobody said, what is your craziness talking about UFOs? Okay. So he's in front of their Congress or their Senate saying, as a matter of fact, we need to stop listening to America and lying to our people. Just because America wants to lie to their people, we need to come clean with our people. Okay. We need to tell them that UFOs really exist. There was a rollout in 12 that basically most of the countries told their people UFOs are real.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is very interesting, but I do want to cover some other topics with you,
Yes,
especially your other books. So what are your other books about? The two that you have published?
The one book is called How to Get Out of Debt, Surviving in the 21st Century. And that explains to you the fake global corrupted banking system that is got control of the entire planet. That's the cabal behind the scenes, that they when you go off of any kind of gold standard or silver standard or any kind of metals, precious metals, and you go onto this standard they have, where they have a federal bank. The federal bank doesn't have a single penny in it. Never does. Never has. And they just make up money. They just print it, put it out there, and you regulate the amount of money that is in circulation. And if a population says, I agree with that, and you just trade money back and forth with each other, and it keeps the lie going. So long as I am a consumer and you're a consumer, we pay for each other to be at work. We pay for each other to have money to buy food, and we just hand it off to each person and just trades hands, and it keeps everybody in business. If you print too much money, that collapses. Okay. And here's a perfect example. During Nazi Germany, they were on that banking system. And by the end of the war, their money was worth so little that a man had to bring a whole wheelbarrow full of it to go and get a pair of shoes. Okay. Another example of that is because of the stimulus package that they've rolled out, and they just printed money and just gave it all to us to spend, and they're going to do it again. The price of gold skyrocketed from $800 an ounce to like $3,500 an ounce. The reason for that is not that gold is worth more. It's that the American dollar is worth less. So, okay. And the American dollar is the currency of the realm currently, because Donald Trump made sure to go after China, and they defunded their money on purpose to try and hurt us, but they hurt themselves. And now the only dollar that's stronger than the American dollar is the English pound, the newly readopted English pound since last year when they broke out of Brexit, because of Brexit. So their money is now worth 75 or 25 cents more than ours. So for us, £1 is $1.25 equals £1. Like Canada is to America, their money is worth 75 cents American. So for them to translate to a dollar, it's £1, 25 cents. One note, one Canadian dollar, 25 cents for one American dollar. So because we've deflated our money by printing so much of it, okay, then that lowers the value. And before that, people tried to collect American dollars, and they would hide them so that America had to print new money to keep circulation, because they didn't know where the money went out of circulation, so that they could flood the market later. When they went over to Iraq and were going through all of the houses and huts and everybody out there attacking, getting their way to Baghdad, they'd go into houses that they thought were owned by Al-Qaeda or the Iraqi military, and they would go and break the walls down on the inside, and they had all of their walls lined with American money, because they were collecting it and hiding it in plain sight. And at some point, they were just going to flood the market with it and dump American money on the market, and the American dollar would just go down to nothing. So they could ruin America. So that war wasn't exactly over oil like everybody thought. It was a roundup of American cash, to keep the American dollar at a steady keel so that it wouldn't get flooded into the market to ruin America. A lot more at stake than oil, people.
Wow, very
It wasn't the ancient technology.
It wasn't the alien technology? No, that was in Germany. That was why the Nazi Germany war went the way that it did. If you watch the documentary Above Majestic, you see that you talk to the guys who did the spying, and the last guy who was in charge of that died during the filming of that movie. But if you watch that documentary, they talk about that, where that whole thing was the technology. I mean, think about what happened at the end of the war. America, Germany, and England took all of the scientists out of Germany and split them up between themselves. We had von Braun over here.
No, I meant the ancient technology.
Oh, well, okay. If you look at what went on there, a lot of people say that wasn't real either. But if you look at what went on, while all the troops were pulling out of Baghdad, you had these mysterious men that were running into the museums and either breaking things or stealing them away. What would they be doing that for? Why would they be interested in that? Because there were things that they didn't want other countries to get control of. So I don't know about what those were, but yeah, I'm sure there's ancient technologies. I mean, there's stuff from like the Bible with the sword of destiny or the spear of destiny and things like that. The Ark of the Covenant. The Germans were looking all over the world for that during World War II, right?
right.
Whether they have real powers or not, I don't know. I mean, it would be kind of cool if they did, but I would be afraid to get near the Ark of the Covenant because what I know about it, it was more of a nuclear storehouse than it was some sort of god weapon. It was a god weapon because if you opened it up, you'd die of radiation poisoning.
Oh,
just saying, man.
No, thank you.
Manna, right? I'm told that it was the manna making machine that was in there, and so that was just a machine that actually pumped out manna for them to eat. Right. So it was a device that was 0-point energy driven device that made manna out of nothing so they could have food. But it was radioactive. So if you just open it willy-nilly, then you die of radiation poisoning. I'm just saying. I don't know. I'd stay away from that, man.
No big deal.
So your third book was on.
Oh, that one was actually supposed to be one with the other book, but it's called Prepping/Survival for Beginners, and the two of them were supposed to go together because survivalists, the whole banking thing, and then teaching you how to get out of debt by just understanding how the game was played. You could actually get out of debt. Donald Trump actually plagiarized my book, but it wasn't really. It's the thinking. Because in my book, I actually said anybody in America or in the world can get out of debt completely and not have to pay any taxes if you just know how the game is played. He actually said that during the debate. So I went, hey, that's out of my book, man.
Maybe you read it.
Maybe some of these people did. I don't know. But the other one was survivalist. I'm a survivalist. My father was a survivalist. So I grew up learning the things that most people have not been taught in this country for over 100 years. Learning how to trap, learning how to build traps, learning how to build things, how to hunt, how to fish, how to skin animals, how to shoot,
going back to basics,
make your own stuff, right? You know what I mean? How to survive. So those skills don't mean anything unless the COVID-19 hits. Then all of a sudden we become very important to people. How do I survive without toilet paper? I even said that in my book. We preppers, we survivalists know that when the world gets shitty, so to speak, pardon the language, that and what we call
ticker.
Right?
My ticker. Hang on. I got a ticker. I got a sign. I got a sign for that.
Lyrics. Yeah. So the toilet paper becomes the number one commodity. It becomes gold. Like you can sell. And in the movie The Book of Eli, he walks into a bar and he says, "I hear you have a charger. You can charge my." He has a DVD or a CD player. And he says, yeah. And he says, what do you got in trade? And he pulls out the little packet from KFC that's a little handy wipe.
Yep.
And the guy's like, oh, yeah, I'll take one of those. Right? Because he was using those to bathe with. You see him do that. He does his armpits in his private areas, right? Mm-hmm. Little things like that become gold. And we think those things up.
Yeah.
We go, what would we need to survive? Those little, they have them in the stores. You can get them, little alcohol swabs or non-alcoholic swabs. All the time, you hand me something, I go, what can I do with this? Can I do this? Can I recycle this into something? Like here's, for instance, right here on my desk, Altoid tin.
Best thing on the planet.
right? Because an Altoid tin, you can make it, you can put anything in here. I have videos that show making a little mini bug out pack and a little mini first aid kit inside one of these.
Mm-hmm.
And you can survive on those and live in the wild until you can make better weapons or scrounge for better weapons. But stuff that you put in there, if you put the right essential things in there, because the first thing you need is water. You need that before you need food, right? First thing you need is water, because you can live for a month on the fat you have in your body or longer, right? But you can only live a couple of days without water. So water is the very first thing you find first. You find water, then shelter, then food. Okay, food's always last. And if you do your research, and this is why I wrote that book, if you do your research in the area that you live in, you can find out what you can and can't eat in that area. And you can also learn where to look for food, right? So I moved to the desert. My friend says, oh my God, bro, you need to find out what's out there because it's the desert. You're going to starve. I realized when I looked into it that I had more food in that desert than I would have right now in a major city. I live 5 miles from the capital of the state of California. I would have a better time scrounging for food out there in that desert and surviving than I would trying to survive here in the city, unless I would able to, get into other people's houses and steal their food. Right?
Wow.
Yeah. Because we like to take out all things that are edible from our land, and we plant pretty things, and those pretty things are poisonous to us to eat. So most of the plants that you have in front of your houses and apartment complexes or in front of stores, you can't consume. It'll kill you. So the only place you can find food is in backyards of people's. Mobile home parks is a great place.
Yeah.
Mobile home parks is a great place. People grow food.
Give us an idea of a few things you could find in the desert.
Okay, and I don't know about all deserts, but in the Sedona Desert, where I was at in Arizona, for instance, the cactus that grows there, you can eat the cactus. It has all kinds of water in it. Okay, but you have to do a couple of things, like the cactus skin you got to cut off, because that has a sticky glue that they use that when they ferment it. That's what they use for tequila, by the way. But if you don't ferment that, it'll kill you. Right? So you have to ferment that
tequila.
And make tequila out of it, or it'll kill you.
Not me.
But the cactus itself, and this cactus is the one I'm talking about, guys. You all see it because it's that one that's kind of the teardrop round one, like this, but it's flat. It has all the spikes on it, and it grows those blood red bulbs. Those blood red bulbs are a delicacy. Delicacy.
Really?
Yes, they are.
Really, what do they taste like?
It's hard to explain because they have their own taste, but it's kind of like a sweet guava melon, but it has the texture of cactus. So it's very it's
mushy.
Yeah, but it's fibrous. It's a lot of fiber. Cactus has a lot of fiber and water. So asparagus, the big asparagus as big as my thumb, the tall ones, that grows wild.
Really?
Yeah, peanuts grow in the desert.
They do?
Right? Yeah, I didn't know that. I was going to grow some while I was there. Yeah, so there's all kinds of stuff that you can live off. Cactus. There's 3 kinds of cactus you can live off. There's asparagus that are just out there everywhere. The best, what is it you make guacamole out of?
Avocado.
Best avocados on the planet are grown in the desert.
Really?
We have people, they grow them out there in Arizona, New Mexico, and Mexico along the California border. So all of the ones that we get from Mexico here in the United States is from that same desert, the Sedona Desert, just the Mexican side of it, right? So there's all kinds of food. There's also 2 trees, the mesquite tree and the hickory tree. Both of those trees have a bean pod that grows on them. And you can, when it's green, you can pick it off the tree and cook it like you would green beans and eat it. Or you can wait till it dries out, and when it dries out and it falls off the tree, or you beat the tree and it falls down, you pick them up off the ground. The Native Americans taught us this when we cowboys were coming across the southern plains to come here. They were running out of food in the middle of the desert. So you pick all of those up and you smash them up into flour, and it's a tan-colored flour like khakis, like a khaki pair of pants or a khaki shirt. It's a khaki-colored flour, and it is sweet with no sugar, and it is gluten-free. It is the better flour by far than the wheat flour that we use currently. But when that was found, they tried to sell that back east. They said, do you really think we're going to ruin an entire industry that we have out here because you guys have trees? So they refused. So now the people that are nutritionists are starting to realize that, and they're starting to use it now and put it in their coffee and stuff. Right? But the trees grow wild in that desert.
Huh.
They had to knock the trees
Interesting.
over to build the cities.
That's the mesquite
The
Or the-
mesquite and the
mesquite
hickory tree.
and the
Yeah.
hickory. Okay.
Yep.
Wow.
But then
Yeah,
the flowers coming from which one? Or it's coming for a combination?
Both of them. They both have a green bean. They're shaped different. The one on the hickory tree is real tall,
Right.
and the one on the mesquite tree is about 5 inches and it's flat.
But they both can be ground to a flower, like
Yes.
you would with a eggcorn
stalk. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Wait till they dry out, and then what they do is they have a machine. You can actually, over by my house where I lived, you could go, because I had them around my house. And I was like, what is this tree? So I looked it up and was like, what? Because the bugs get in there, and it's really cool. Is that there's a certain bug that gets in the tree, and you know how crickets, when they with their legs together, they make that sound. Well, these bugs make a clicking sound, and they do it right as the sun's going down. So you walk outside and you hear like a million clicking sounds coming from these trees. And it's just this bug that lives in the tree that they do that every single night. You get used to it. And when you're down south, you get used to it, but you hear that and you go, wow, that's weird. What is that? So I looked that up. It's just a bug that lives on the trees and feeds off the bark, but doesn't eat the leaves. So the leaves fall off and they're so abundant that the groundskeepers just come and rake them up and throw them in the garbage. They're just wasting food. It's just dropping off the trees. Isn't that crazy?
So
crazy.
How did you figure out that you were a medium?
I was born with a gift and didn't know what it was. I just thought everybody had it. I was born when I was very young. I was probably 3 or 4, and I was afraid because there was stuff outside that I could see that was not good. And so I instinctively, I got these rocks, river rocks. We had our driveway. We had a regular driveway, and alongside the house, we had another driveway that was river rock, little ones. And so I got a bunch of those. At 4, and I every night I would take them out and put them on the posts of my bedposts, and I was casting a circle, a bubble to go to sleep in that would keep the bad guys out. And my father one night came in while I was doing that and said, what are you doing? And I said, well, I'm casting a bubble to keep the bad guys out. And he said, what bad guys? And I said, them out there. And I pointed out the window, and he looks out there and he says, who's out there? Do you see somebody out there? And I said, yeah, right now, behind the tree, behind the walnut tree. And my father looked and he says, you can see that? And I said, yeah. I said, there's somebody there. He says, but that's not a man. And I said, no, I don't know what it is, but it's scary looking. And it wants to get me. And he says, you see that? And I said, yeah. And he said, and why are you doing this? Who told you how to do this? And I said, I don't know. I just know that if I do this, there's a bubble of protection around my bed and it can't get to me. And I can sleep and not have to worry about it. And he says, okay, son, go to bed and tomorrow we're going to talk. The next day he said, today starts your training. He says, wow. I'm going to ask you questions and I want you to answer me truthfully before we go any further. And he started asking me questions, right? What do you see? Can you feel things? Can you hear? Can you sense what? Show me this, tell me that. Right. By the time he was done, he said, okay, you're far too young to know what you know, so I'm going to have to teach you some things because you're right. There are bad things out there, and you were right. That bad thing did want to get to you, and you were right for doing what you were doing. So from that point, luckily for me, I was born to a man who was very woke and was very ahead of his time. He believed in UFOs, and he said that he believed that most of us came from outer space. And that our people, he believed, were aliens that crashed here, and at some point they would come back for us. And I was like, I don't know about that, Dad. You're tripping, dude. So then I come to find out, like 2015, they tested the DNA of all the people who have type O negative blood and said, we can't find that DNA more than 10,000 years back. After that, you don't exist. You came from somewhere else. And then the scientists started theorizing that the people that have type O negative blood, the genealogy may not have originated here. We may in fact be from another place. That's when they started opening their minds to, well, what if other people might be from another place? What if we're all from another place? Right? So my father was way ahead of his time at a time when people laughed at you. Mm-hmm. In the 70s, man, they laughed at you and called you a crazy kook if you said UFOs or aliens.
Right. So you're not from like a gypsy lineage or something like that.
Actually, I am. I'm actually Irish. My real name I'm born to is not O'Neill, but it's of that same family. That was the line that we had. We changed the name when we came to America to hide, because the O'Neills owned Ireland, and the O'Neills were my genetic line was actually should be the King of England right now. Should be me. I'm the oldest male in my family. We have the bloodline that's descendant from Edward the Black that Henry usurped through his mother, who was Edward's sister, because our bloodline ran at that point and was hiding because they were hunting us to kill us, because we had the rights to all of Ireland, England, Scotland, and Wales, because we were the last king. And
well, they're all moving to California anyway right now, right? So
it doesn't matter.
It's going to be cousins. No, great.
Any part of that? Yes, I'm a black Irish clan, and I'm a gypsy Irish. And it's funny you say that, because I was talking to somebody. I just said this on my show the other day, and I said something about being a Pikey, and Mandy, the administrator who's running my Ancient Alien show, she says, "Leo, do you know what that means?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's the N word for Irish." And she goes, "Yeah, but I didn't know you knew that." And I'm like, "Yes, I am a Pikey." I said, "That's what they call us. The English call the Irish gypsies a Pikey or Pike. Depends on your accent, right?" So if you watch the movie Snatch by Guy Ritchie, he puts that in there. And what's his name? Brad Pitt plays Mickey O'Neill. He plays Mickey O'Neill, and he's a Pikey. He's an Irish gypsy. And so when they're going to talk to them, he was going, "Oh, I fucking hate Pikeys." Right. And that's the way this guy talked. Right. And so he was like, "A Pikey, we're going to see the Pikeys." And he was like, "Will you just calm down?" Right? So, right. But his name was Gorgeous George.
Thank you.
The line was a direct quote from the line of a movie. But during that filming of that day, they actually had on the DVD, you know how you can turn on the subtitles? They had one that was Pikey Come Again. And it would only come on when those guys were talking, and mostly when Brad Pitt was speaking, because he went there and lived with them for like 3 months or 6 months to get the accent perfect. And that accent, my family speaks with. My grandmother was, oh my God, she was calling, like when he was saying, my mom, he would say "Mima," right? "Mima." They're like, what is he talking about? So they had showed a picture. His ma. Right? He would say, he had dogs, and he noticed the guy was looking at the dog, and he says, "You like dogs?" And he's like, "What?" He's all, "Dogs." And he's all, "Oh, do I like dogs?" Yeah. Right. So just the difference in the way they talk.
Right.
Fast, and with an accent that is really hard to understand. So here I am, come forward. This is a funny story. I'm working at, Eugene O'Neill. I'm seeing that in the audience. Really.
Yep.
Related to, yes. Eugene O'Neill is my third cousin. Mickey Rourke is my third cousin. My mother's maiden name is O'Rourke, and Mickey Rourke comes from the O'Rourke family. Mickey Rourke is my third cousin. What's his name? O'Neill, Ed O'Neill from Family. Ed O'Neill played for Pittsburgh Steelers. My fourth cousin. Okay, so anyway, O'Neill skateboards, fourth cousin. The O'Neill line of clothing and all that, fourth cousin. They don't give me any money though. So I'm working at a frame shop, managing a frame shop in Berkeley, California, and we had this exchange student from Ireland. Her name is Aoife, and she comes in and she's got that pikey Irish accent, and no one can understand a word she's saying, right? And I understand everything she's saying because my grandmother used to talk like that when she wanted to, right? So they're like, "Leo, Aoife's upset about something, and I don't know what it is, and she's going on, and I have no idea what she's saying." I'm like, "Bring her here." She comes in and she's just like, I'm like, "Calm down," right? I'm like, "Don't worry about that. Just put them there on the hooks. Make it fit. I know that it's not a part of the planogram, but that area, everybody's looking at me. You understand what she's saying to you?" And I'm like, "She's speaking English, people." They're like, "No, she is not." And I'm like, "She is speaking English, but it's just in a really, really, really thick Irish accent with what they call the Irish brogue. She's talking super fast. You guys think I talk fast?" See that? That's where I get that speed in our speech. We just are wired that way. You get my family together, my sister and I, and people laugh. They say we get into that mode because no one understands what we're saying. We talk so fast to each other. And then if you have a bunch of us together, we have I could be sitting here talking to you and holding a conversation with that person, and that person at the same time, and we keep up. And people are like, "How do you do that?" I'm like, "I don't know."
Mom skills.
It's the way we're wired. Crazy.
Your mom skills.
Yeah. We breathe through an eye socket. So we don't have to inhale. We don't have to take a pause. We just.
You sure you're not part Italian too?
I do have a little bit of Roman blood. I do have a Greek and Roman. I have a 2% Greek and Roman in my DNA.
Right.
I did the ancestry DNA to find out.
Very good.
Yeah, but I have almost all of it, like 43% is Celts. It's all Irish, Dutch, and English, Irish, Dutch, and then I have Scandinavian, about 14 or 15% Scandinavian, and then 2% Native American and 2% Roman Greek.
Wow. Very interesting. Wow. So what do you guys think so far? This is a pretty interesting guy here, huh? We haven't even scratched the surface.
I will be right back. I'm losing connection, so I'm going to have to hardwire the computer. So I'll be right back. So
cool.
Yeah. That probably means he has to.
Head to the head.
No, I'm losing that. I am losing network.
He's like, no, I'm actually losing network. That happens. It does happen live. I have had that happen to Omar or Watchers Talk, and we love the StreamYard because when you're using StreamYard, even if me, the host, goes down, StreamYard stays up for everybody else while I'm redoing it. And literally, we were live, and Watchers Talk actually went down. And there's, hey, Wendy, how you doing? Welcome. So he went down, and literally what happened was he said he thinks it was his wife, and she was doing some vacuuming or something, and she knocked the wire out of the wall, and his entire computer system shut down.
Oh, well, Mike's
right. So he didn't get mad. He's like, "What just happened? What just happened? I lost everything. Oh my gosh!" She goes, "Oh my god, I unplugged you." Right? So he was down rebooting everything. Then one time it happened to me not too long after that, where I was hosting, and I went down. Same thing. My Wi-Fi cut out. I was off air. So I grabbed my phone and jumped in the chat on my phone and said, my Wi-Fi is down. I'll be right back. And just rebooted everything and waited. And Omar just grabbed a hold of the show and kept going. I did the same thing when he went down. I said, okay, Omar, I'll be back in a minute. Looks like he went down. So let's move on. And we kept going with the show. So it happens when you're live, man.
It's a good thing you're so resourceful. So, okay, so let's we'll go on to a little bit of a topic that I am familiar with.
Yes,
because I have come to you for different issues. You know, I've had clients of my own that have needed help, and you know, I know my limits and boundaries. I can't always help them in certain ways. It's not what I'm supposed to do. So, you have definitely been a resource for me and for them.
Right.
You've definitely have some kick when it comes to your gifts because you get to really handle the nasty stuff.
Yeah.
And you really help some people with the nasty stuff.
Was something I think because I was never afraid of when I was little. After that, my father taught me not to be at a very early age. So now I'm very defiant.
Sorry, I just had to interrupt you and say, you know, although he's losing power and he's losing signal or whatever, he's still barking orders at me in the private chat telling me what to do for the show. You know what? I got this. You go handle your Wi-Fi situation.
Right.
Right. Really?
So, yeah. And that I think is because of when I was little, I was taught to be brave and not worry about them because they're not as strong as we are. So, Wendy, no, I hadn't seen that UFO video. We talked about that earlier.
Yeah,
if you have a copy of that, Wendy, link it to me in the messenger so I can watch it. But I believe it's part of the rollout, guys. They're planning a rollout, but they're trying to plan one for a 50-year timeline. And we who are trying to get, disclosure now are saying, no, we want it faster. Right. And so that might be part of it. I don't know because I haven't seen that video because some of the stuff they put out is drones. And I go, that's drones, guys. Those aren't UFOs.
Right.
But yeah, please. So she said, okay, good. So hopefully you link that to me and I'll watch that after I get off air here and I'll take a look and see what's going on with it. So when it came to dealing with things, I also, when I was younger growing up, I started seeing, the difference, it's like watching Constantine, the movie. And I'm John Constantine. I'm growing up and I'm seeing these things that are around that other people aren't seeing. And so I would go to like my father and people like him that I could say, what is this that I saw? And he would say, describe it to me. And I would tell him and he'd be like, okay, that's a demon. They're real. And, or that's just a ghost who's being very mean to you. They're real. So being able to see that stuff, you learn the difference quickly. And that's what I said to and about what's the name of it? She'll know the difference between good and evil really quickly.
Yeah.
You learn that difference and you don't forget it. And then when you find something, one of the real nasty ones, you never forget the nasties. You know what I mean? When you get those, you go, that was a real nasty one. And I remember that. So yeah, they back. Right?
One of these days you'll learn. One of these weeks you'll learn to have that puck next to you, and just in case. Otherwise, it's usually in his car, and he has to run out in the rain to get out of the car.
No,
Right.
I'm hardwired right now, but back up. I keep a wireless.
She sent it to me, and she said that she said they're saying
I can hear everything.
Your blimp. So the video that they're talking about over there in Jersey, they're trying to pan it off as the Goodyear blimp. I haven't seen it yet, but she gave me a link. So after the show, I'll look at it.
I saw that one earlier today.
I haven't seen it.
It's lit up right where you'd get the Goodyear blimp, but I'll send you another one from Jersey that it'll make you go,
Okay.
And actually, I see Eddie in the group here runs Bigfoot Quest. He's got something that you need to take a look at. I sent Christy the video the other day.
Send that to me, then I'll take a look at it.
Yeah, that's a funky setup.
I'm really intrigued by the UFO, or by not UFO, by the Bigfoot stuff. But I've never been on a UFO. I've never been on a Bigfoot hunt. But I've watched a lot of shows that have, and they get those soundtracks, and I'm like, oh man, that's creepy.
Oh, we got some.
When they start hucking rocks at them, and they start, big boulders come flying at these guys, and I've watched a lot of the intense UFO hunts by some of these guys that are doing it professionally, and some of them are just doing it because they're trying to figure it out. And some of that stuff was scarier, man. It's scary because those things are huge. If they're real, I mean, you look at that tape from the 70s, right? And there's just a gait that thing has that you and I can't master. I've tried. I dressed up as a werewolf one time for Halloween, and I tried to walk like that. Okay. And that doesn't last long. If you're brought up that way, you develop that because you can walk up on your toes. Children do that automatically. We humans put shoes on them and make them walk heel to toe. What would happen if we left them walking up on their toes? I'm told Native Americans did more of that than people think. Because if you walk on your toes and you run on your toes, that's the way they teach you. I played football. You run on your toes. You don't put your foot down if you don't have to. You stay forward and up on your toes like an animal does. Okay? If you look at the way dogs and everybody else are built, we're built the same. It's just that over time, I think we've been standing heel toe. Our heel has come a little bit closer because we're using it more to walk. And we're really inefficient, and we flop like a duck. I don't think we're designed to walk on our heel toe. I think we're designed to walk up on our toes. And if we did that from birth, that's me with my mind. I must have been a Nazi scientist in my past life, because I'm like, what would happen if we took kids and just never put them in shoes and let them walk up on their toes?
Oh, girls right there. And actually, my youngest used to do that even before she could even walk well. When she was just beginning to walk, she was walking on her toe knuckles. Used to drive my husband nuts. He just cringed looking at it. And then when she got older and she realized it really grossed him out, she would jump and hop on him like that. She'd just curl her toes and jump over.
If you see dancers, they do that because the ballet dancers are up on their toes and they're wearing the shoes to allow them to do that.
Right.
And when they do that barefoot, I was watching because I love everything. I love anything that has to do with humans doing something. Because we're so diverse. Like, I'll watch Dancing with the Stars. I'll watch the that other show that they have, You Think You Can Dance. Love that show. I watch anything where humans compete in some way. I'll watch them cook. I'll watch baseball. I'll watch every sport. And people go, why are you so obsessed with this? Because the human body and the things that we can do are so intense that you don't realize that any one person can do any and all of those things. But the problem is you can't do all of them well because you don't have enough time to learn that. So people pick one thing and they stick with it.
Right.
And then they become very, very good at it, and they end up becoming a professional at it. And they get paid good money because they've spent the time to do it. But there's people who develop their voice. There's people who develop their mind. There's people who develop a skill to be able to hit a ball that's coming at them at 100 miles an hour. That's only that big around. You know what I mean? Right. And then there's guys that golf, and there's guys that play pool, and they can just do these trick shots. And we humans are so diverse that you can put us almost in any situation, and we adapt to that and figure a way of fixing it. People don't realize that in the universal scheme of things, we're rock stars. We are superheroes. Okay, this is no joke. And if ever there's a disclosure and you get to know what's going on in the real universe, we are one of the most sought after commodities on the face of the earth because of what we learn on this planet. Because we make decisions second by second, life decisions, life and death decisions, second by second. In fact, we get so bored because we have so much going on in our lives, we seek out those things that are dangerous. We go on rides. Well, I might die. Let's go again. Right? We get up there, we get on skis, and we go, I'm going to jump off this ramp and slide down, and I'm going to jump off this jump and fly as far as I can, and I might land and kill myself. But if I do it just right, I'm going to get paid a lot of money. Right? I mean, we do that. I'm going to go down on this really fresh powder, and if I go wrong, it's going to be a landslide, and there's going to be an avalanche, and I'm going to die.
Here I go. Anyway.
No brakes. Sideways. Yeah, that was cool. Let's go back up and do it again. We humans are insane, right? Rock diving. But it's beautiful, and I love watching it because of that, right? It is those things where people say, our world is going to hell in a handbasket. And I'm like, you're looking the wrong place. I don't know what you guys see. Right? You can see those things if you want, but that's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for the beauty of this planet. Right. I'm looking at beautiful things that are beautifully done. I turned on the news today on a local channel, and this woman who was a weathercaster hadn't been on for a while. And the last time I saw her, I said, is she getting a little baby bump there, or did she put on some weight over the holidays? She pops up today, she's standing there, she turns sideways, and I'm like, oh, she's got a baby. I'm like, look at that baby bump. That's so beautiful. And I'm thinking, who does that? Who looks at a woman they don't know and go, oh, you're so pregnant. I love that. So beautiful. You're pregnant.
Well, I know. I think that is. That's the nature of.
That's the goddess.
Goddess. I mean, that's how it's being human. It's,
people take that for granted. It's the mindset that you have drives your reality.
Right.
Okay. So your mindset, if you see nothing but negative, that's all you're going to draw in. That's all you're going to see. Right? You have to be, you're either half full or half empty.
That's right.
You see the glass is half full or half empty. So if you're an optimist, then you're looking at beauty. You're looking for something pretty. If you're gloom and doom, that's all you're going to see, man. So every time I take one step forward, it's 2 steps back. Well, if you believe that, you're putting that out of the universe. That's what's going to happen.
Exactly. Yep. And mothers have the best outlook on life, because, man, I'll tell you, if you remembered what that childbirth felt like, you sure as hell wouldn't go through it again.
Right? Although my mom saw that and she smiled. And I said, what are you smiling about? And she said, I was just remembering when I was young and pregnant. That's what she said. Just remembering what it was like to be pregnant like she is. And I said, you smiled? Most women would say, oh, man. And she goes, no, that was a beautiful time. And I was like, oh, Mom.
It definitely has it definitely is.
Well, I was lucky that my father was very adamant about us boys understanding that the women are the most important of the species, because you can put any man in our place, but you can only have that woman do what they do.
Yeah.
Okay. So from my father's perspective, he would say, your mother is your mother. She's the only mother you can have.
Right.
Okay? But if something happened to me, there could be another man who could be your stepfather, and he could do good things for you, but he's never going to be your real father.
Right.
But you can never replace your mother. If she dies, it's just another woman who's trying to do that. Your mother's the one who gave birth to you. She's the one. And then you also said, when you're married, that's your wife. You can replace a friend. You can replace a relative. You can replace people that you know. But your wife is somebody that you're trying to be with for the rest of your life. So it's harder to replace that.
Right.
So try and get it right. Because
like that connection, that connection needs to be there. Yeah, it's kind of important.
Right? Well, the problem, unfortunately for our generation, is that you get with somebody that you think is right, but if you get spiritually active, it turns out that they may not be, and then you realize that at some point I'm going to have to make a decision about this. I'm either going to have to live with the fact that this person thinks I'm a nutball, right, and that I'm too spiritual for them, or I'm going to have to come on, right?
Right.
And unfortunately, in our industry, there's more of us that are not with the person that we originally got with because of that.
Right.
Not weird. And that just sucks. That's just because of the time that we're in. Right.
Right. Wow.
Yep.
Speaking of time, we forgot to do the top of the hour commercial.
Well, I mean, if somebody would have been more on top of his, puck situation.
No, it was just the internet wonderfully.
I'll do it now.
So, yeah, we gotta bump in here for a quick word from the WLFE family. So hang on one sec, folks. We'll be right back.
Hey everybody, this is Ted from Talk with Teddy and WLFE DB Radio Network. Let's talk about this network for a second. It's very unique and it has different shows with different topics that you won't hear anywhere else. First, let's say our shows cover a wide range of topics. Paranormal to horror, skeptical to believers, and all types of variety shows. You won't be disappointed. In fact, we found, not by the limitations of audio, that we have added video casting as well. Do yourself a favor and check out a show or two. The full schedule is lined up on WLFEDBradio.com. In fact, there are past shows as well that you can check out. So remember, WLFEDBradio.com. Now here's a few of the podcast hosts that also carry the WLFE DB Radio brand and shows. Our shows can be heard on Spreaker, Deezer, iHeart, iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, and more. So check out WLFE-DB.com.
WLFE DB Radio.
Well, thank you all for putting up a commercial there quick. We got to get that little break in there. And Audrey does say hello. Wendy's blowing up my phone. From
Right. Yeah, Wendy just said she's going to take off and go put your kid to bed, but she'll be back after.
Yep. And then
Cool.
Carrie says, you have a lot to talk about. What a network, And Carrie runs Bigfoot Mountain, a real good Bigfoot blog and stuff like that. So actually, that kind of reminds me.
Check out my show. And I'm watching their commercials, and I'm like, hey, my show's in all those places too. So if you go check out Orion Rising,
yes,
that goes out on Facebook, Orion Rising, the page, also YouTube channel, Orion Rising. And if you have the MP3 files that you want to listen to the podcast in MP3, that goes out on every one of those places, anywhere on the planet that you listen to an MP3 podcast. I'm either on there, and if I'm not, let me know and I'll get myself on there. But I'm currently listening to in 86 countries around the world, so I know that no matter where you go, you're going to find Orion Rising. So wherever you are on the planet, you can find my show because they have.
Yes.
And the
you
link
can
is
search me. I have 3 episodes on there with you.
In the link, if you're following us on the YouTube or you're tuning in from one of the other places, you can find that website linked right in on the YouTube description box. Christy made sure to do that, and I made sure it was in there when we did everything, popped it up.
So like iHeartRadio, Apple Podcast. I know that Apple Podcast has most of my listeners in the United States. Outside the United States, it's a whole bunch of I don't even know how they got there. Right, I pay Podbean to put it up in like 6 places, and then I have Anchor FM that puts it up in about another 8 places. And apparently, those people also distribute to other people because there's names in places that I have no idea who they are, and I've never put it up there, but somebody did. Okay. So yeah, you can get my RSS number from Podbean. Yeah, no, I'm okay with that. Right,
that's awesome.
And I got people like literally all over the planet listening to me, and I'm like, Croatia, okay. Right, the Philippines. All right, I got a couple fans down there. Right, India. I know I have fans in India. Right, but it's everywhere in the world. There's just some places that don't like. In North Korea, I'm not going to get anybody. China, I'm not going to get anybody. They're a closed audience. Right. But here's the weird thing. I don't know about the MP3 podcast, but my video cast has been played in every single state in the United States, save 2. Wyoming has never listened to my podcast. No one in Wyoming. I don't know why. And Vermont.
Really?
I don't know why.
We don't know what we're missing, man.
Both locations with preppers,
right?
UFO people,
right?
Survivalists,
right? And they don't listen. Weird, right?
Everything.
Yeah. I don't know
marketing.
Yeah, I should go there, and I don't know anybody in those states either. Maybe that's why.
Flannel, no cowboy boots. I don't know. You know,
right? I mean, yeah, right. I mean, I used to wear when I did my stuff.
would
I used
love
to wear
to
a,
see that.
I used to wear a camouflage boonie hat. I still have one. You know,
Okay.
I don't have a cowboy hat anymore. I had like 7 of them. They were on my yacht. That was part of my effects that didn't get returned to me on my yacht.
Oh, always good. All right. So we only have like 20 minutes left, and I apologize. One of the kids is coming home from work right now. So Max is going nuts. One of our little mascots of the show.
What are you going to do? Yeah, if you have questions. What kind of questions do you have? You want to get back towards the medium side and ask me some more
I'm
questions?
curious to know what you have coming up because we only have so much time. So I want to talk about what you have up and coming, what you're working on.
I'm currently. I was talking about
looking forward. You know, like what kind of work are you hoping to do moving forward?
Well, I'm sort of, it was funny because you said that on your show when I said, you got anything for me? And Mike jumped on it and you were like, oh man, he's put me on the spot. He always does. But I am changing my platform. So I'm not exactly 100% sure where I'm going. I am starting to get into producing, but I've always been trying to work on that in the background for a long time. Because I was talking about you and Heather trying to produce a show for you guys like 5 years ago or whenever that was when we met, right? 3, 4, 5 years ago. Whenever that was.
Long already.
Yeah, right. So, I'm not sure if I'm going to do that. I am going to continue doing the Law of One and continue doing, but I think I'm going to do a little bit more motivational stuff. The politics. Once this election is over, I'm going to lay off that for the next 4 years. Right, but right now it's pertinent because of everything that's going on, and I don't want to get into that because you guys know I could go on for about 100 hours. With that. So I'm still taking care of my mom. Once I move, which was in the works, and you said definitely move, I'm supposed to do that when I have the funds and the time. I am going to do that. So once I do that and I change the location here and I can free myself up more, I'll be able to do more, I think, from there. So right now I'm kind of still doing what I'm doing and planning for the future. I know that up and coming, I have to change my screen here. So guys, bear with me. So you will see me, but I'm reading off the screen because coming up in, and I have the meme up in front of me, coming up in October, on October the 4th, I am going to be hosting, or I'm going to be working for Portal to Ascension, which I've worked with and for the last 5 years. If you guys have been following myself or anything that Portal to Ascension's been doing, you've seen me running their webinars and hosting their webinars and speaking on the webinars. So I was asked by Neil Gore, the creator of Portal to Ascension. He has an event coming up October 1st through the 4th that is going to be a free webinar event that's going to be running the 1st, the 2nd, the 3rd, and the 4th. And it's going to be, I think he said, 9 hours a day. And they have hundreds of speakers that are, I don't know if it was hundreds, but it is a lot. It is close to 100 speakers that are going to be speaking. And then there's a group of us, and there is 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 of us that are going to be hosting on those 4 days. Watchers Talk Omar, who's in the crowd out there, he is going to be hosting a day as well. I know us too, and I'm looking here. I think it might be even Jeffrey might be doing it. Jeffrey Boyd Jr. I think might be doing it. So I have that coming up in October where I will be doing that, and I'll get that. It's on my page, on my Facebook page, and we're posting it everywhere. So if you guys want to tune into that, it's going to be free. And there's a lot of people in the alien industry, and Portal to Ascension has always been about spiritualism. We talked about that. Neil and I were one of the pioneers of, we in fact, we did an interview where he said, aliens, now go meditate. And people were like, what? How does that work? And we were the first ones to show how all of that is encompassed into the whole aspect of the universe. And that ties back to Virginia's question earlier about if you're a medium and aliens, would you be able to be? Yes, because we're all the same people. We're running by the same rules. They just live in a different place. It's no different than someone who lives in Germany as opposed to here. So we decided at that point a few years back to start backing off of beating the dead horse of aliens, and starting to get more spiritual, because when people break their conditioning through asking questions, and spirituality will make you ask questions, then you will tend to, all that other stuff comes into play on its own, right? So I am getting more spiritually minded. I'm noticing that the Christian fundamentalists or the Christian evangelicals are actually evolving the same way. and they're getting away from the old school Christian teachings. And I am a minister, so I've been knighted by the Roman Catholic Church, which I had a friend go, "Is that a thing? I've never heard of that." And I'm like, "We've been around for 150 years. We're the only holy order left in the Catholic Church. All the rest of them have been disbanded a long time ago. But the Knights of Columbus are the only ones that are the holy order in the church, period. We're it." So the whole aspect that people are starting to learn in the West is not to beat a dead horse. Even the spiritualists, even the Catholic Church, who used to make you pay a tithing, they just stopped doing that. They stopped knocking on your door and bothering you when you didn't show up, right? And they learned that if you just let people go, the old saying, if you love something, let it go. If it returns to you, then it was meant to be. And if it doesn't, then it was meant to be. So they realized that when the kids who were brought up in the church, if you let them go, that they would leave when they turned 18. They'd stop going to the church. Then somewhere down the road, when they got married, they would show up back in their mid-20s to late 20s. And because they want their kids to have a Christian upbringing. So they didn't pressure anybody anymore, and people started coming back. So we realized that in the industry and said, we need to stop talking aliens and go more on the spiritual level and talk to people. And I tell people that, know the room, read the room. So now I'm going down that road and a little bit more. So don't be surprised if you see me up on stage at some point being like an evangelical, but from a weird, different angle. I even hear this guy who's the most popular in the nation right now using words like the Logos. And what is the Logos? And that comes from the Law of One. It comes from Eastern philosophical thought, right? So in the Jesus mindset of this Christian Judeo religion, Jesus was the Word because the Word was with God. So Jesus became the Word of God. So that's how the Catholics tied it into the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, which is the trilogy. But see, that is as above, so below, that trilogy, the 3, 6, and 9. And scientists are starting to go that way now and understand that. And that gets really crazy if I tell you that, because people go, what is that? Everything is a vibration. Everything is an octave. Everything is a harmonics. Right. Everything that we do, everything that we are a vibration, and we vibrate. Everything vibrates. So the 3, 6, and 9, as above, so below, which makes the Taurus, is the vibration of the human being, is the 3 vibration in that equation. And the vibration of the nature is the 6 in that vibration. And the 9 is the perfect number. That's the God number. That's God. That's the creator of the universe. The creator of the universe is the one that creates the infinity, the 8 symbol. Everybody thought that was the most perfect symbol, but that's just what happens when the creator takes the human energy and the nature energy and keeps it into one energy. That's crazy sounding. But if you're into the scientific reality of that without the math, you're going to go, yeah, you're right. That's the Taurus, and that's the 3, 6, and 9, and it's a tangible thing, and we think that it has to do with gravity, and there is no God, and get away from me, you crazy kook. But if you're a spiritualist on the and you know the math and the science, you go, wow, why didn't I get that until just now? Okay, and that's the side of the universe that the scientists are denying, and it's the side of the universe, the opposite end is the side of the universe that the religions are denying. The religions deny the science, and the science deny the religions. Spiritualists see the whole, and that's where we're winning the minds of people by saying to them, take a look at things from a mathematical standpoint in spiritualism and forget those religions, because they're no different than those scientists. Right. Religions are a money-making place and scheme. Spiritualism is a state of mind. So they're starting to go that way. I'm seeing her, who is also a minister, says, you got to hear this guy. And he plays them for me, and I'm like, he's saying the same thing I say on my show. When I'm talking about the Law of One, and when I'm talking like this, it's the same thing that he's saying, and he's the most popular evangelical Christian that travels the United States and gets paid all kinds of money. And my brother says, I know. You say the same thing he says. I'm like, yeah. No, wait, I'm older than him. He says the same thing I say.
Oh, right. There's a pecking order. Okay.
Right.
So I have a question then. So how are you, now that you're looking at things from a different perspective, and coming from a place that's more faith-based, we'll say, Not that you didn't have a faith, but it's a different perspective when you really are coming from that spiritual side of things, right?
Yes.
How has it changed? Has it changed anything for you with how you see other things from before? What a lot of times when you have that kind of awakening, it really changes how you feel about certain topics or issues.
Here's the weird
thing.
thing.
So
here's the weird thing. I was speaking like I'm speaking now when I was 15. Okay. I thought, and I talk about this I'm writing that book, by the way. That's one of the books I'm writing. It's called The Way. In fact, if you look at Orion Rising, the page, I describe what Orion Rising means, and it's the way. Before I read The Law of One, I called it the way. I still do. The Law of One is what the rules are. Okay. The Law of One is a description of the rules of how the universe works. I had realized the way, and I thought, no, that's just the way the universe is. This is the way the universe is. I understood that when I was like 14, 15. The difference was that was when I got that awakening, when I woke up fully. But then you're still going through societal problems. You're still going through hormonal problems because you're becoming a man. You have testosterone that's driving you crazy. You have a drive to and your whole society is saying you're a man. You should get married. You have to have kids, procreate, get a job. So you have all those pressures and things get put on the back burner, but you're still trying to figure them out. Right. So it took me until I became older to realize that I needed to throw all of that away. I needed to take that away from my life and get back to the way I was when I was a teenager, and I was saying then our energies, the way we interact with people, the way I think about you changes the way the universe sees you and the way you see yourself. If I'm looking at you and I'm giving you, the eyes and getting all chesty and flipping you off, what are you going to do? You're going to go, what's this guy? What are you doing? Hey, you're going to do the same thing back. What are you doing? Or you're going to go, hey, whoa, wow, get out of here. That guy's crazy. So you're either going to run, duck, or bleed. Do you see? You're going to stand up to the person and return and reciprocate what they're saying, or you're going to go, well, let's get out of here. That guy's crazy. I don't want to get hurt. So you're going to do one or the other. You're going to fight or flight. That's a natural instinct. But I knew that when I was 15 and tried to tell people, and they thought I was crazy, so I stopped telling people. I thought I was the only person on the planet besides my father who knew anything that was going on. And then the internet happened in the 90s and things started to change. And then Facebook popped up. And that made it possible for those of us who were out there in the world to meet each other. Mm-hmm. And now we're using this platform to meet other people and to get out there to the world, as long as we can, to get this information out. So for me, the thing that changed was when I was losing my second marriage. My wife had gone, she had a breakdown and she decided she was leaving. So I moved on to my yacht, which was a 30-foot sailing yacht. It was a nice, cool little racing yacht. It was cool. It was sailing yacht. It was fun. And I was living there in San Diego. And then my sister said, you need to come and check on our parents. They're not doing too good. And they're almost out of money and owing people money and just crazy. Something's wrong. So I come up here and find out they're both dementing. Right. So they're being irresponsible and they're borrowing money to pay their rent because they couldn't manage their stuff. And I was like, okay, selling the yacht, moving in with the parents, taking care of them. And then my stepfather died 4 months later. I've been taking care of my mom for the last 4 years now. It'll be 4 years in October.
Your mom's so cute. I love your mom.
Right? Yeah. So well, you got to see her just not too long ago, right? So, she's a little 76-year-old Irish lady. She's cute. She has a smile that's infectious. It goes from ear to ear. I don't know how much longer I'll have her, but I have her for as long as I do. She has Alzheimer's, and she'll slip away, eventually fade away. But as long as I have her, I'll have her. And then, when she's gone, at least I know that I did the same thing with my grandmother who was dying of cancer. I moved in with her and took care of her until she died. And I had her as long as I could. My grandmother was a big influence spiritually on my life. And she also taught me how to cook.
Nice. That's always a good
very important factor.
But to get back to the awe moment, when it happens, you think you lose your mind. You think you've gone crazy because things change so drastically. And I know you've been there because you had to have. If you're a medium, it hits you at some point.
Oh yeah.
So when you become awake, and then then there's stages, guys. For those of you out there,
some of us are already
stages, right?
That way. Yeah. You and I have talked when I've gone through different stages of it.
Right.
when you're born into it, you don't always know. You hear other people talk about this awakening process and these downloads. And I know you and I talked about that because I was like, what is this crap? Because I don't go through any of that. So I was thinking there was something wrong with me at one point going, holy cow. I mean, I know who I am, but what the hell is all this other crap that I keep hearing everybody talk about? And yeah, it's crazy.
It depends on, I mean, okay, look at you. Let's take you, for instance. And when I first met you, you weren't doing ghost hunting. You weren't doing any kind of exorcisms, right? You were not excommunicating people out of houses. You were scared to death of that, right? Remember that? Now look what you're doing.
Yeah, and I wasn't called to do it either, Yeah, I was like, nope. No, it's a whole different.
And you did, remember when that happened, and that was with Audrey, right? And then you did. A lot of us worked on that little girl and her mom and that whole thing, the whole situation, right? And then you did, and then guess what? Now look what you're doing now, right? You met Mike, and you guys are like going all over and doing all kinds of hunting for everything, Bigfoot and whatever else you can hunt for.
If I'm allowed.
We met because
Doctor keeps saying no.
In that direction, I wasn't. He was in it long before me.
Right.
So I would never have, the investigating and the paranormal stuff was not something I was doing until the last few years. Yeah.
And I have a paranormal group, right? Paranormal tech group where people just sit around and talk about all the new trinkets and toys that they have on the market. And I wanted to get together there was other groups that I was working with. In fact, when they were doing the shows, the TV shows, none of them had a psychic with them. And I kept going, you guys don't know what you're doing. You need to take a medium in there with you. You need a psychic. Man, I don't know how you guys are going in blind, but they were going into scientists. The guys from TAPS were going into scientists. They were trying to debunk everything. But you have to do that in order to prove something. You have to go in and disprove it. And if you can't disprove it, then you have nothing left but to go, okay, it's compelling. It might be something. But first you have to try and disprove everything. Otherwise you're just trying to prove everything. And that doesn't get you anywhere. You look at things through with the eyes of, it's going to be a UFO. It's going to be a UFO. I look at it going, it's going to be fake. It's going to be fake. I know it. Every time I look at something, I'm saying it's going to be so fake. That's what I'm thinking about that video they're sending me. What you were talking about, Mike, I'm like, I'm going to look at that. I'm going to go, yeah, that is the freaking Goodyear blimp. You guys are good.
And that was something I know we kind of switched the medium thing, but you do a lot of debunking of video, and that's a big thing in my world. Is what is it? What it's not, and you gave me some tips the other night that I didn't think of, and stuff like that. Some of the pixelizations.
I should help you. I should tell you everything that I know because, dude, you're gonna go, oh yeah, and then when you hear it, like when I did that to you, I watched you go, oh, dude, that's so obvious. Why didn't I think of that?
But I'm thinking of
I never invented any of that. I was taught.
Yeah, there's so many. Our audience is so broad. We handle the paranormal, the Bigfoot, the cryptids, the whatever. And there's a couple of folks I know that just do general research on the paranormal and stuff that they'd see. As a researcher, what do you look for that kind of stuff? I mean, to help somebody man, I'm seeing this stuff. I really believe, but is somebody feeding me a line of, BS? Like I always say, and I can hit my little banner button quick. Where's my little occasional explicit list? If the shit's too unbelievable, it's real. Instead
that's usually what happens, right? You just go, oh man, yeah. Well, you know what? I go in being very skeptical of everything, and it helps. Unfortunately, it helps a lot if you're a medium, because you're already in tune to what's going on. So what happens is, if you're, say, like we're doing a Bigfoot thing and I hear one of those screams from way out in the distance, my brain immediately goes through a file in my head. Can a human make that sound? Could I make that sound? Right? If I can make that sound, I'm not so thinking that's a Bigfoot. If I listen to that sound and go, no, I've heard some of those that have the sound of 7 distinct layers of a voice in it. We humans can't do that. We only have a range of 4. Okay. So if I'm going to listen to something that's not manufactured and it has more than a range of 4 sounds in it, 7 is something we can't do. All right. So now I'm not saying we can't go through octaves. We can, but we can't project. We can only project our head voice, our nasal voice, our throat voice, and our diaphragm. We have 4. We can only sing from those 4 places. So we can project all 4 of those into one tone. If you do it right, you might pee your pants doing it, right? But there is a tone. Hugh Jackman had a story about that when he was doing on stage and he was performing on stage. And there was a scene that he was doing and he was wearing tights, and he knew that the tone he had to hit, if he hadn't gotten all of his bladder out, he would pee himself. And he was like, oh crap, I didn't go pee before the set. I'm so going to pee my pants. And he went out there and he did it anyways, and he peed himself. And nobody seemed to notice, so he just continued with the scene. And as soon as the scene was over, he ran off, right, and yanked everything off of himself, cleaned him up real fast, put on new tights and underwear, and ran back in. And everybody was like, because he ran off, and they were like, where are you going? He's like, I peed. They're like, hurry, help him. Everybody ran after him, took off all the stuff, cleaned himself up, got on new underwear, new stuff, and he made it back for the next scene, and no one in the crowd had the notion that anything happened. So there's certain things that we do that if you do stuff like that, you have to sing from a certain place to project a certain sound. So if we can't make that sound because we are not physically able, that's one of those, it's crazy. It's so crazy. It's got to be real. We humans can't make that. It's hard. You could maybe try and do something with a recording, but how are you going to play it so loud that it's going to make that sound and not make the sound of a recording being played through speakers? There's a distinct sound difference being broadcast in the air. So that's how I look at everything. Isn't that crazy? I break it down like a scientist. Everything I do.
That's the way you got to do it. Sherry, I don't know if you've got it, or you're just waving hello, or if you've got a question. If you got a question, you can throw it out there. I mean, I have recordings of stuff that just doesn't make sense, but, you mentioned pixelization, but going back to the tonal thing, maybe, like I said the other night, we were joking around, is that maybe Keanu Reeves does have the answers since he was in the Matrix and now with Bill and Ted, because that's all tonal. And,
tones, and
it all came back to Bigfoot again up above there, is that
everything has to do with vibration and a tone, everything. Because
energy, we're all energy healers. That we're talking tone and energy there.
Yep.
Right.
So,
and everything is a vibration, right? I'm making sounds, and it's going into this microphone, which is picking that up, and it's digitally sending it, and it's coming out in everybody's speakers, and the speakers are reinstituting the sound exactly the way it was set through me. Hi, Sherry. she was waving to say hi to me.
Yeah. I didn't know she was asking a question, or
her hand was up waving, but I didn't know if she was. So hi. Yeah. So, I'm glad you made it over here. She's somebody that follows me, and I posted this on all my channels and had people that post it on wherever they can post it and get more people, so we can get more people in here for the show. Everything's vibration, so it comes back to that everything. And when you're seeing things visually, it's the same thing. Like, for instance, one of the things trick us. Our minds play tricks on us. We're hardwired to find a human face and human image out of chaos, because when we're children, we don't see everything the way we do now. So everything's chaotic. So your mom and your dad are looking down at you from you're in your little bassinet, and you might see an eyeball over here and a mouth up here and a nose over there and an eyeball there, because our brains haven't gotten that whole thing figured out yet. So we're hardwired to try and make this face out of chaos. That's why when they do the lipness test, they go, what do you see in these pictures? And they show you the different globs, and then what you see in there can tell a person of brain what your psychological point of view is at that time, whether you're psychotic, whether you're a fiend, whether you're happy, whether you're sad, because of what you will see there. Whether you see dark energy, dark things, evil things, or whether you see butterflies and puka shells and mom, stuff like that. So, but that is how our brain plays tricks. When we look at, say, the moon when it's coming up and it's low in the atmosphere, and you can see mountain ranges, the moon appears to be ginormously huge. Right. And then when it gets up into the sky, it looks teeny, the size of a dime. The truth is, if you were to hold a piece of paper up in front of your face and draw a circle where the moon is, and then wait till it gets overhead and hold it in the same place and point it up, you'll see that the moon is exactly the same size on that piece of paper, but our brain perceives it in a different space. And so it goes really big down low, and then it goes really small up high, because we have nothing up there to judge it by. But when we're down here, we do. So it appears to be closer because we can see the landscape than when there's no landscape and it's just the sky. So when you look at objects and you're trying to figure something out, you have to wipe your mind, look at something and say, what am I seeing? Not what does my brain want me to see?
Right.
What am I seeing? Okay. And if you look at like the Tic Tac, quote unquote, and a couple of other radar images of a quote unquote, UAF, so they call it UAF. They call it they don't call it an unidentified flying object. They call it a something
aerial phenomena.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not just it's not just it's UAF, I think. So anyways, when you see the pictures of those on the radar, first of all, they're in black and white because they were taken in infrared, right? They were taken in infragreen. They were night vision. So when they print that out, they don't print it out with green. They print it out in the black and white. But when you look at the object, around the object is a halo. And that really threw people off, that there was a halo. Well, I had already been given, I know I'm going back to the alien thing, but or the UFO thing, but I had been given from the CIA, a insider, the theoretical engine portion of a manual, and was told these engines are not theoretical. And I was like, well, I'm pretty sure that you're right, because I had already been in a think tank where we were talking about what would be the engines that we would use, or the American government or anybody in our country to use to fly anti-gravitational engines, and then to be able to go out in space. Because we got in space, you can use anything as a propulsion, air. You don't need fire. Fire you need to break the atmosphere here. Once you get outside and you're up in space, you just need nitrogen, oxygen, anything that is a gas, and just go forward, you go the other way, right? But you have to be able to fly around down here. So to fly around down here, anti-gravitational, what would you use? And we went through a spectrum of devices that would work. And that's where he got wind of that, and he said, here, and because we had theorized every single engine, that he said, here, it's on paper. And they're not theoretical, they're sort of real, but they're talked about as if they're theoretical. So one of them, if you look back, and this is getting to our mindset when you're trying to vet things, the Vimanas from the Indian texts, from the Mahabharata and the Bhagavad Gita, I always say that wrong. The Vimanas were the spaceships that they said the gods used. And if you look at the spaceship that the gods used, and you look at it in a practical terms, it actually is feasible and would work. You would need a propellant, and they show that they use fans, and so they used air. And if they use air and they shoot air down through the top and out through the bottom, and it goes back around and is sucked back in again, it'll create a vortex around that spaceship. That wouldn't give you lift because there's a downforce. So in drawings, if you look at drawings like Da Vinci did, Da Vinci purposely changed his drawings so that when someone saw it, if they built it, it wouldn't work. But if you were esoteric, it's esoteric. If you have the brains to understand what he's doing, you're going to go, well, wait a minute, right here, he did this on purpose. But if we flip that to there, this now works. Okay, so if you reverse the flow, instead of going down but up, which you would think would suck you to the ground, it creates an up force, an anti-gravitational up force. And if you do the same thing with liquid mercury, I'm referring here to the German Die Glocke, which means the bell. The Germans did that with liquid mercury, and they had to chain it down because it wanted to take off. So if you then can control that with the air, you then have an anti-gravitational device. So that's what they did, and it worked. And then from that, you can extrapolate out what the next evolutionary pattern would be if you had physics in your background, right? So all of those things came to pass. And the problem with it is the layperson is trying to vet now a UFO, say.
Right.
You see this picture, but there's this halo around it. They go, oh, look, this is like with the pixelation I was talking about with you.
Right.
You go, look, now there's this white area where it looks like it was blended. They have this area that looks that is discolored, right? So let's zoom in, and you zoom in until you get to the pixels in there, and they do kind of smear a little bit because there's a temperature difference, but the pixels are the same. So then they go, well, then what is that then? Well, what that is that's an actual cold vortex that is created around that object that allows that object to move faster than you could and fly around like this and do the things that they do. Okay. So they didn't realize that because they were, hold on a second. I'm sorry, is that Jeff? Just tell him that I'm on the air. I'll talk to him later. Sorry, my brother's calling and my mom's ringing here. Let me. Yeah, tell him I'm on air, Mom. I'll understand that. Yeah, tell him I'm on air. So yeah, Mom forgot I was on air, and my phone rang, and my brother's on it, and so she's going here.
She's loud.
Did you see it? No, you saw it with the third eye. She had a big grin on her face. So, anyways, to the layperson, there's an issue there, and they would just call it fake. Okay, because there's an issue they can't explain. I took one look at that and went, oh, they're using that drive, right? They could possibly be using an ion drive or a electromagnetic drive, which was one of the theories that I had about crop circles, which was Heather I talked to about that. And her guides said, wow, you're like closer than anybody. My theory was that the crop circles were not created by a UFO, but rather they were created by an electromagnetic waveform, because in the studies we take grain of salt and you put it on a plate and you turn on a sound and you modulate the sound and change the frequency. At some point, all of the little crystalline salt will start to vibrate. And when you keep doing that instantaneously, they will make geometric patterns. They'll just move spontaneously into a geometric form. And then when you change the frequency higher, they all just drop. And then you keep going again, then it changes into a different geometric pattern. So that's because it's crystalline, and the energy from the sound wave is vibrating the crystal in the salt, and it's resonating in there, and it makes the salt move, and it changes to the physical pattern shape of that particular harmonic resonance. See, this is the stuff that I did when I was growing up.
Wow.
This is a whole nother show.
I was just going to say, unfortunately, we have to wrap it up.
I said, and then they see this gets back to the golden ratio, which is what I was talking about, where everything has that spiral. That spiral, it has to do with the building blocks of the universe. So the what's happening around that spaceship is they're creating that spiral. So they're creating the torus, right? Not the torus, but the torus, which is the big ball that has the center, the hole in the center that connects at the 0 point, and there's all these lines of energy that go all in a perfect order. They create that bubble around, and they call that a warp bubble in the sci-fi movies. They create that vortex around the spaceship, and what happens when you do that, whatever's in the inside at the 0 point, then you are outside of the realm of gravity. So you can move, like you see these UFOs doing. If you're inside there, though, you'll get beat to hell if you're not strapped in, and if you don't have something in there that recharges the gravity. So drones are perfect, and they fly around, they make all these maneuvers, and people go, oh man, that's a UFO with an alien in it. No, it's not. It's actually just a drone that our government owns that can move like that, because the Nazis figured it out when they made Die Glocke, which means literally the bell. So, but when you look at that, if you don't have a science background, you debunked and you just threw away a picture of a real UFO.
Right.
I guess the big thing is that you're saying when you're zooming in, so any of our folks that are zooming in, look for that pixelization. Is that pixel size the same as the pixel everywhere else in the photo?
Yeah, it has to be, because the camera that you
and that will help them debunk some of this stuff.
Yeah, for those of you guys out there who want to know, if whatever camera that somebody's using to take a picture or a video, it has a certain pixel rate. You should know that already, because you have the camera, and the better cameras have the better pixel rate. The higher pixel rate, the more pixels are painted. Okay, so guys like me who debunk it, I take your picture and I put it on my computer and I blow it up. I zoom in and I look at the object and I look at all the pixels that I in fact go to the point where, that's the what we call the quantum weirdness. I go to the point where it's hard for me to tell the difference between the spaceship and the sky next to it, other than the color of the pixel. And the pixels are all going to be the same size, because that camera paints them on those pixels. If there's a size different in the pixels, fake.
Okay.
There you go, guys.
Period. Fake.
Wow. Period, says Leonard. I like it.
I did it professionally. And then for Ancient Aliens Worldwide, we started the group in 2012. We were a think tank research group until 2015. After that, we decided to go public. Okay, so for the first 3 years, that's all we did there was debunked everything. And then kept stuff in file of that's interesting. We can't debunk that, but we don't know what it is. I debunked back then a video that I currently believe was a real UFO, but it wasn't a UFO. It was to our eyes a UFO, and it was a video of somebody sent us of a classic saucer-shaped UFO flying with two F-16 fighters flying in perfect formation, with that being the lead ship, and flying through the air at tight formation, the way the military would fly when they were doing processions and things like that. They don't do that when they're in combat. They're a little further out, so you don't get caught in the guy's jet wash. But they were flying, and this guy filmed it, and they went wow around him like this, and went over there, and I went, there's no way in Hades that an alien was going to allow American ships, airplanes, to get that close to it. And why would they want to get that close? They would have tried to shoot it down. Fake. And now come forward in time with the knowledge that I have, that was absolutely a spaceship owned by the American government, and it was an American combat pilot flying in it. And that's why they were able to take that tight formation. They were flying around, going somewhere really quickly, and somebody filmed it. And I went back and looked at it and went, that's real, bro. That's not fake.
And on that note, we're going to have to leave
7 years ago, I threw it out as fake.
Yeah. And we're going to have to leave our listeners and our viewers to ponder this one, because unfortunately we're out of time. I told you guys we were not going to have even enough. We didn't even scratch the surface with you.
So please,
I said, watch my show. You'll get
watch the show.
The link is on for Leonard's Facebook group. I put that into the chat. It's also linked on the bottom of the description at YouTube. Please, you can find his show on YouTube. You can find his stuff there on there.
Really quickly, Margaret said, what do you think about the claims of recordings of angel singings? Man, that's weird stuff. I've heard some of it, and I can't explain it. And I'm still trying to look into that. I've heard the really loud horns that are like supposed to be the horns resounding. So, wow, man.
Yeah.
Great question. I'd love to do a show on that. I might, if we figure it out. I've heard those sounds. I've heard the recordings.
I know where we can go do some recording. So, and we got Bigfoot stuff in that same area. So
you just have to come to the East Coast.
Yep.
Weird stuff, man. I know. If you get anything good, Mike, let me see it. Right?
Yeah.
You get some stuff, you go, dude, I don't know about this. What do you think?
Yeah.
Hercules.
For sure.
I got one.
Leonard,
so
thank you so much for being on tonight. You have really offered a lot of different points of view and a lot of new information that you don't hear every day. So it was very refreshing, and
try to be cutting edge.
It all in, but I'm sure we're going to leave everybody with a lot to think about and a lot to process. That's for sure. We really appreciate you being on the show tonight.
I'm honored that you guys asked me to come on here. I love talking, but I love being, instead of hosting, I love doing what I'm doing this way. And that's what I would like part of my show to be, is people talking to me and interviewing me. Not that I'm full of myself. It's just that there's a lot that I want to say that I don't say. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, and love to your mother as always. She's such a sweetheart. And I know we'll be talking again soon. So
I told her you said hi, and she said, which one was she? And I said, you remember when I was here that night and there was this girl with the blonde hair and the glasses? Oh, that really pretty lady. Yeah, I remember her. Tell her I said hi.
We'll give her a hug for me.
So, I was surprised though, because most of the time she goes, who? She can't remember half the people I talked to. Who was that? I don't know. But she remembered you. She was that girl that's like Irish Italian, right? I was like, oh, Mom does remember her.
All right. So, okay. Yes. Spot on, Mama. Oh, that's great.
Thank you again. I love you guys both. And I hope you guys get audiences bigger than mine on your show. And, I hope you guys get going. I remember when I first started, really quickly, I know you guys are running over. I remember when I first started, and Dino from Paranormal Into the Night, his show had the audience like mine. I was like, oh my God, if one day I went worldwide and I had like 50 countries listened to my show, oh my God. And then I counted it. And I'm like, 86 countries have listened to my show. It might not be that they're all doing it every day, but every day or every single week, I have at least 72 countries listen to my show at least once.
Good for you. That's amazing.
Awesome.
That's insane. Guys, give me some money. Anyway.
It's a whole different show. All right, Leonard, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Have a good night. Thank you.
Well, love you.
Whoa. Hit the right buttons here. All right.
Wow, what a show, huh?
Yep.
Oh my gosh. I hope you guys all enjoyed it out there. I know there was a lot going on tonight. He is a plethora of just all different information on all different topics. So next week, what do we have? Me.
Yeah.
What's that look for?
I was just trying to remember who we had.
Wow.
I know we have a really awesome guest coming up in November. That is going to be a surprise.
Can't wait. I'm so excited.
Yes. We'll be
That's
putting
gonna
that word out.
Mm-hmm.
That,
Cannot wait. Cannot wait to let you guys know this one.
I hammered down a heck of a guest that we're going to be talking about some amazing, amazing stuff that you're going to be. So please check out Leonard's website, his YouTube channel, and please like, share, hit that subscribe button because we may pop on here, there, or somewhere else if we get a chance when I'm back rolling around. So
you're old but well.
Yeah. So still recovering here. So
he's just older than me.
So thanks, folks. Good night from us and sample on.
Ready timing. Stay safe and sample on.
Yep.